everybody, Jeremy here, and this is my 4-year review of Xfinity Mobile. I've been an Xfinity Mobile customer since 2018. I switched over from T-Mobile, and at that time I remember it was kind of a scary experience because I was grandfathered in on the T-Mobile plan, and if things didn't work out with Xfinity Mobile, I wouldn't be able to get that same plan if I tried to go back. But I do have to say that since then, things have been pretty good. But if you're interested in sort of seeing what Xfinity Mobile has been like over the years and my thoughts on some of the changes that they made since that time, go ahead and look in the description. I'm going to leave links to some of the other videos that I did so that you can kind of get an idea of how things have changed and evolved over those years. So if you're not familiar with Xfinity Mobile, like what exactly is it? Just real quick, to give you a quick rundown. Xfinity Mobile is a mobile virtual network operator. And what that basically means is they do not own and control that infrastructure that gives you your cell service, your data, your voice, your text, or whatever. But instead, they enter into a partnership with the company that does own that, and then they can resell it to you. In this case, that company is Verizon Wireless. So when you get on Xfinity Mobile, you're using the Verizon Wireless network, which for a long time has been the best mobile phone operator in the country, in the United States, just as far as coverage and reliability goes. And that's kind of like the main point of Xfinity Mobile. And one of the things that I have noticed over the years, and is actually pretty good, because when it comes to service, whether or not I was going to have a signal, all that stuff, I don't need to worry about it. Very few times have I gone out somewhere and thought, man, I hope I can get a signal in this place, which at the time when I had T-Mobile, that was always a concern. One place that I used to work, as soon as I went through the door, the signal would just die on T-Mobile. Just no ifs, ands, or buts. It was just a dead zone in there. Lead walls or whatever was causing that signal not to get through. But as soon as I switched over to Xfinity Mobile on the Verizon network, got all my bars. That was never a problem with me. And since then, you know, I've been to quite a few places in the United States since then. I live in Georgia, so, you know, I've been all around Georgia. I've been to Florida. I've been to Texas, Chicago, Indiana, you know, just crisscrossing through all these different places. And granted, I'm never going out too far in the sticks, you know, I'm not going too far out in the deep rural areas. So I can't speak about what the coverage is like out there. You'll have to check out their coverage maps. But the places that I have been, I have always gotten a signal there. And I've never had to concern myself with whether or not I was going to be able to check my email or respond to a text or make a phone call, or if I get a flat tire or something, can I call somebody? I never had to worry about that. I recently drove to Indiana from Georgia, so you have to go through Tennessee and you have to go through Kentucky, and then you get to Indiana. And it's a long time, you know, about 10 hours or so. And I had my GPS running almost the whole time. And it never dropped out long enough to be a concern to me. And that's great. And I was actually listening to a Twitch stream at the same time. So I had my GPS going, and then I had Twitch going, and it just made the trip a lot more tolerable, especially for someone like me who doesn't really enjoy long car rides. So I do like that about it. And I think that's really important, especially for a lot of people. You want to know, am I going to have coverage? In my personal experience, I have always had reliable coverage, and I don't have to fight with it and, you know, do that thing. Do people still do this? You're trying to figure out if you're going to get a signal or not. That's something I really don't have to worry about. So that's a good thing. The other thing, price. That was the main reason why I went to Xfinity Mobile, because it was so much cheaper than the other options out there. Prices have changed over time, not too drastic, but as I recall, when I left T-Mobile, I think every month I was paying, it was over $100, maybe around between $100 and $110, $115 a month. Xfinity Mobile was super tempting because they offered unlimited internet data. And then, of course, you got your voice and your text. People don't charge for that anymore, but they had that. And $45 a month is how much it costs now. I can't remember if it was always $45 a month. I think it was. But regardless, the price differences between T-Mobile when I was on T-Mobile and then when I got on Xfinity Mobile, it was just a huge difference. And for once, when the company says that you could save this much money a year if you switch to us, usually there's a bunch of asterisks and like, oh yeah, I guess if you get the cheapest plan possible that no normal person would be able to actually use, sure, you could save that much money. But it wasn't the case like that for Xfinity Mobile. I was on the unlimited plan and I was saving more than half every month on my bill compared to when I was on T-Mobile at that time. And that's really great, being able to save some money. Now, by the way, if you do want to get Xfinity Mobile, you do have to have internet through Xfinity/Comcast. That is a prerequisite. You need to have that. If you don't, then unfortunately you won't be able to jump on. So that's something that you need to have. And I've always lived in places where Comcast is pretty much the biggest name in town. And you kind of have to go with them if you want some halfway decent internet or decent internet. So that was never a concern for me because I've always had them. So that's how I got in. So the price has always been quite good. It's another thing that people like. Customer service, I can't really talk about customer service because outside of one time, I have not needed to speak to customer service. So I know that Comcast, Xfinity has a reputation of not having the best customer service. I totally get that. But with Xfinity Mobile, I really didn't experience that, so I can't really speak on it. So yeah, that's how that goes. Now, what don't I like about Xfinity Mobile? The biggest thing that I don't like about this carrier are the very limited selection of phones that they offer, and then also how limited the bring your own device program is on an official level. So what I'm saying is, when you want to get on Xfinity Mobile, if you plan on getting an iPhone or a Samsung phone or one of the latest Google phones, you're pretty much going to be good to go because that's mainly who they deal with. You might get one or two other brands in there on occasion or whatever, but for the most part, it's going to be Apple, it's going to be Samsung, it's going to be Google. You want one of those phones, you're good. But if you want to bring in a phone that they don't sell, and let's just say that it's from, let's say it's like Blue. Blue, they offer very affordable smartphones. You can get them on Amazon. Or maybe you want to go for a Sony phone. Maybe you want to go with a Huawei phone or a Xiaomi phone or whatever phone that supports the same bands that it needs to support in order to run on a Verizon network. It checks all those boxes so it can work on that network. But if you want to bring it over to Xfinity Mobile on an official capacity, they're going to tell you, no, you can't do that. Bring your own device doesn't mean bring over whatever you happen to have. It means bring over what we approve you can actually bring over, regardless of if it actually works on the network or not. That's something I never did like. I've always felt that if you have a phone that works on the network, you should be able to take it on that network and there shouldn't be any kind of difficulties involved at all. I think that should be a law, really. But it can be kind of unnerving if you want to do that. And it can also be unnerving even if you buy a phone that Xfinity Mobile actually sells, and then they'll still say it's not compatible. Let me give you an example. The last official phone that I had on Xfinity Mobile was the Samsung Galaxy Note Ultra 5G. It was a long name, but basically it was the last Note phone that they came out with. I had that on Xfinity Mobile, and then Samsung announced the Galaxy Z Fold 3. Xfinity Mobile was offering this phone, but Samsung had amazing deals if you wanted to get this phone directly from them. They had a huge rebate. They had an amazing trade-in value. They were giving things away. They were giving out free credits, and it was just an amazing offer. So after doing the math, I decided to pay off the Note that I had. And then once that phone officially became mine, I traded it into Samsung. I gave it to Samsung, and I got the Z Fold 3. I was a little bit nervous because there was no way for me to actually know, even though this is an unlocked phone directly from Samsung, it can work on Verizon's network. It's capable of doing that. I was worried that I would take it over to Xfinity Mobile, and for one reason or another, they just would not let me use it. And I checked out the return policy to make sure, just in case that happened, I would be able to send the phone back because I don't want to have a useless phone. So I got this phone. I went over to Xfinity Mobile's website. They have a bring your own device page set up so that you can look up to see if your phone is compatible with the IMEI number, which you will not know until you actually get the phone in your hands. But I figure it's not going to be a big deal because this is the exact same phone that they sell on their website and in their stores. So I put in my number and lo and behold, it said, sorry, your phone's not compatible. And I thought, how is that even possible? How is this phone not going to be compatible? You sell this exact same phone. Why wouldn't it be compatible? No clear answer for that. So I was a little bit nervous. I couldn't do it officially, but through simply taking out the SIM card that I already took out before I traded the phone in, popped the SIM card in here, and then after a little bit, not too long, it finally worked. And so far, it's continued to work. But if I look at my actual account, it will tell me that I am not using a supported phone to this day. And that made me real nervous. I was thinking like one day I could wake up and then the phone just wouldn't work on their network because they performed an upgrade or something. And then it said, hey, your phone's not the one that we are selling you, so get off. Fortunately, that hasn't happened yet. And I've actually made that switch twice because when Google came out with the Pixel 6, I decided, hey, I want a Pixel 6 because it was, pretty affordable. So I would take the SIM card out of this phone, put it into this phone, and it still works. Xfinity Mobile's like, hey man, that's not an official phone. You can't use it on our network. But, it does. But just the fact that you don't know that ahead of time, because you need the IMEI number to put into their website before you know if it's even going to be compatible or not. So you might run into a situation if you buy a phone and let's say you bought it secondhand and then you think it's going to work, but then it doesn't work and you can't take it back. Or maybe some functions of it work, but not all the functions of the network works. You might get something weird with your text messages messing up. I don't know. It's just you roll the dice when you do that. And at least to my knowledge, if you go directly to one of the major carriers and you want to bring over a phone that they don't officially sell, if it's compatible on their network, it's just going to work. And you won't have to worry about, well, what if they kick me off or something because it's not official? It will just work. But for some reason with Xfinity Mobile and heck, maybe other MVNOs, I'm not sure, it's just a kind of a gamble. So that's one thing that I don't like. I wish that the bring your own device program was just a lot more open and transparent and welcoming to whatever phone you want to bring to them that's compatible on the Verizon network. It's not Xfinity Mobile's network, it's Verizon's network. So, it should work in those cases. But fortunately for me, I was a little bit worried, but that's still working out pretty good. So, overall, if I would change anything at all about Xfinity Mobile in my experience, not really. In fact, I'm saving even more money now than I was in the very beginning because I don't have the unlimited plan anymore. Because when COVID started and everyone was, a lot of people were working from home and I was too, I didn't need the unlimited data anymore because I was here most of the time. So instead of doing the $45 a month, I used the cheapest plan that they had, which was $15 a month. So that's how much I was paying for Xfinity Mobile. Of course, minus, if you're leasing a phone through Xfinity Mobile, you have to pay for that phone every month. So that adds to the bill. So you have to include that. But just as far as the core service goes, I went from 45 down to 15, and you know how long everything was lasting. So, saved quite a bit of money there. And my wife moved from Sprint to Xfinity Mobile. So now we are on this same plan together. And even with us being on the same phone plan together, it's still cheaper every month than it was when I was by myself on T-Mobile back in 2018, the beginning part of 2018 and 2017 and, before that. So I like Xfinity Mobile, and it's kind of weird how much I like them, because I don't have to think about it. I never think about my service. Is it capable of doing anything? Can I go over here and still get a signal? They make it very easy in the app to see how much data you're using. The bill that they put out every month that you have to pay is pretty much always the same, plus or minus maybe a few cents here or there. But the way that their app is designed is just really easy to look at and figure out what's going on, and you can switch your data plan on the fly. You don't have to call anybody. You don't have to deal with customer service. They've made it easy, and that's kind of shocking coming from Comcast. No, not to have the best customer service in the world, but for some reason, somehow, some way, they really nailed it with Xfinity Mobile. So if you're thinking about getting Xfinity Mobile, the only thing I would say is check the coverage map. See what the service is like in your area when it comes to like Verizon, and then make your judgment from there, because it may be one of the best decisions that you've made as far as your mobile phone service is concerned, because it certainly is one of the best that I made. And it's still feels weird to say that about Comcast. So those are my thoughts on the service. If you have Xfinity Mobile, I want to know what's your experience been like. Go ahead and tell me if you had a completely different experience. Maybe we're living on a couple of different Earths and Xfinity Mobile is just horrible there. So I want to know your story too. So that's it. Thank you all so much for watching. Till next time, I'm Jeremy. Talk to you later.